Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
6:06 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, along with Jay Harper, in for Joan Jones. Johnny B here as well. Dan Mandis, want to welcome on into the program. Newsmaker Hotline, Senator Bill Hagerty. Always a pleasure to have you on the program, sir. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. It's always great to be with you.
So, listen, we've got another shutdown looming as part of this revolves around the SAVE Act. Now, I think that the SAVE Act, I know you do as well. We're both supporters of it. It does focus on election integrity. What the SAVE Act will do, it'll make it harder for non-citizens to vote in our elections. So, yeah, it does seem like common sense. It did pass the House with bipartisan support, by the way. Now it's in the Senate. So, Senator, I've got a two-part question. First part, what are the safeguards in the SAVE Act? And if passed, would it actually protect our elections from illegal aliens voting?
Well, it's already illegal for illegal aliens to vote, but this tightens the noose, so to speak, and it allows us to use federal funding as the tool to block states and jurisdictions that would allow illegals to vote otherwise. I'm here in Washington, D.C. right now. If you look at what just happened in my own mailbox, Dan, I've had 4 notifications coming from the District of Columbia government advising me, as an illegal if I were, how to vote in this election. Now, there's a small print that says you're not allowed to vote in federal elections, but it's encouraging anybody who's illegal here in D.C. to register to sign up to come and vote. Now, I don't even know if these people can read English very well. I don't know. They've already broken the law to come into this country illegally. What's to make you feel comfortable that they're not going to go ahead and vote in the federal election? So putting teeth into this, real teeth into it, really matters. What we've seen is the White House already promising to veto the legislation. So you can thank Kamala Harris for, again, underscoring what the real motive is behind her job as border czar, which is to let more people into this country that will illegally come in and vote for Democrats. So that's what's at stake here. The Democrats are behind all of this. Kamala Harris is commander-in-chief, so to speak, of this entire effort, and it's unfolding right now before our eyes.
Senator, some Republicans, this is part 2 of that question, some Republicans want the SAVE Act weaved into the government funding debates as another shutdown looms. I'm always very cynical of these shutdowns, or the threats of a shutdown, but should the SAVE Act discussion be woven into the government funding debates?
It's certainly part of the debate right now, Dan. I don't know how it's going to materialize in the U.S. Senate. Things have to be reconstituted as they come over from the House of Representatives. But this is on Chuck Schumer at this point in time. It would be very easy to put this in front of the Senate at this point in time. Certainly every Republican is going to vote for it. And the question is, will John Tester, will Sherrod Brown, will those senators in states that are going to be very tough for them to hold on to, vote for this? That's the calculation that Chuck Schumer is going through at this point in time. I think it's going to be very hard for him to deal with this. So there'll be manipulation and gyration going on in the United States Senate, and we'll see what we get.
So yesterday marked 23 years since 9/11 of 2001. This week, you attended, I saw this on Twitter, a congressional gold medal ceremony to honor those killed at Abbey Gate during the botched pullout of Afghanistan. A report came out, I think it was this week, or maybe it was last week, but it came out detailing the failures. The Republicans came out with this report, the failures of the Biden administration on the failed pullout, Abbey Gate. The Democrats turned around and basically blamed Donald Trump. Pretty sad that this has turned into a partisan issue. But the Republican report was really important because it did detail for the record what happened. And as far as I can tell, it was all pretty much spot on.
Well, Dan, this was a disgrace like we've never seen before in our lifetimes. This has embarrassed the nation like we've never seen. We lost 13 service members. One of them, Ryan Knaus, a Tennessean from Knoxville. I saw his parents again. I called his father after this happened. I feel so sorry for the family and what happened. No apology forthcoming from the White House, of course. They tried to declare what took place there a victory. It's shocking. It's embarrassing to the entire nation what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did. And let me remind you, Kamala Harris proudly says she was the last person in the room when that fateful decision to withdraw from Afghanistan, to retreat, to collapse it, to surrender. When that decision was made, Kamala Harris was the last person in the room with Joe Biden. They made the decision to override the advice of their Secretary of State, to override the advice of the Secretary of Defense, to do it despite their recommendations not to because of the imminent danger. They did it because they wanted a press release. They wanted to be known as the administration that pulled our soldiers out on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Well, here we are, a day after the 23rd anniversary of 9/11, getting the facts, the truth, and what happened was a complete disaster. Again, who would trust the judgment of someone like Kamala Harris to run this country when she proudly acknowledges the fact that her role in this fateful decision was critical, was instrumental, again, the last person in the room, embarrassing us and basically setting the ground for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine, for all of the unrest that we see around the world, stepped up an order of magnitude after our adversaries saw the United States flounder and fail in Afghanistan.
It is horrific. And, we talk about this, as you know, Senator, every single day on Nashville's Morning News. And, we've all been debating and talking about the impact of the illegal aliens coming across our southern border. Last couple weeks, it's been all about Aurora, Colorado, and the Venezuelan gang members taking over apartment buildings. This week, it's what's happening in Springfield, Ohio. And it's interesting because I know that you've been keeping up with the debate. There's all this back and forth over whether these Haitians are like eating pet cats and dogs and, ducks and all this. But the reality is that we have a situation where, at least to me, it's not about the cats and the dogs. It's about the people, the American people that have had their lives impacted one way or another by all of these illegal aliens coming into our communities. Is there anything on the horizon and I realize we have an election coming up, but do you see anything on the horizon that indicates that we are going to be able to, one, shut down the border, and number two, get these folks out of here?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan. The thing that's on the horizon is the election in November to deal with this. I was interviewed by CNN last night, and they spent an inordinate amount of time questioning me about whether it was true of cats and dogs, that it was a false claim, blah, blah, blah. The only issue there is whether the local officials acknowledge the truth of it. Yep. No one's proven that it's false. In fact, I've seen information on the web where local citizens are clearly saying this is happening. My response last night and to you today was this. The governor of Ohio, and this has been widely reported, has requested millions of dollars of assistance, and he's sending the state troopers to Springfield, Ohio. Yep. What is happening there is happening across this nation. That little town is being overwhelmed by illegal migrants. If you go to the emergency room in any town in our state of Tennessee, if you talk to a school superintendent and ask them what's happening with their ability to hire English as a second language teachers, you'll find out that the infrastructure of municipalities here in Tennessee and across the state, across the nation, is being overwhelmed because people are flooding into this country at levels that we just cannot handle. This is the direct product of border czar Kamala Harris, and this is something that they are trying to basically gaslight America on again. Why are they focusing so much time on, dogs and cats? They spent more time on that than they have on Lake and Riley.
Yep, you are absolutely right. One of the things that I was screaming last night or yesterday about the debate was that you do have all of this conversation about, pets, and of course they're important, but nobody's talking about the people, as you just said, Lincoln Riley. And so now we have a situation where the governor is sending he wants to spend $2.5 million and to try to figure out exactly what is going on. And you're right, Senator, you watch the videos online. You've got, dozens of videos on TikTok and YouTube and so forth of locals that are saying, regardless of what the managers of the city will tell you, it is happening. Senator Bill Hagerty is joining us. So what is your opinion on the debate? Of course, a lot of folks saying that on the right, actually, that are saying that Donald Trump, my opinion is he won on substance. Kamala Harris, I will say, was sharper, but she didn't really answer a lot of questions. What say you?
Well, I mentioned my CNN interview yesterday. It was basically aimed at discussing what happened in the debate. And, style points aside, clearly Donald Trump won the debate because he's the only person that got to the heart of the issues that face Americans. Kamala Harris opened the debate saying that she's going to explain in detail all of the policy flips that she has done, and explained literally none of them. And the moderators never pressed her on any of them. What they did was they spent their time teaming up with Kamala Harris, quote, fact-checking Donald Trump, and these moderators, incompetent in my view, quote, fact-checking Trump with false narratives. They were lying, and Kamala Harris spewed nothing but lies across the entirety of the debate. It was an embarrassment, and again, another gaslighting of the American public. She was well rehearsed. I guess what she's done is spend her entire time since being named the nominee. Again, she's never gone through any sort of voting process, never went through any primary. She's been anointed in the Democrat Party as they kicked Joe Biden to the curb. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has been out campaigning, been doing interviews with hostile networks, and he's been doing exactly what we would expect a commander-in-chief to do. He's been taking it on right, left, and center. And during the debate that night, and I was there in Philadelphia with him, you saw, I think the American public saw just the incredible bias of the American media. Certainly, ABC News failed yet again to do its job with the citizenry of America, and we got to nowhere in terms of what Kamala Harris stands for. In fact, roughly 2/3 of Americans stated that the United States is on the wrong track, Dan.
Yep.
Did we hear anything in that debate that would persuade an American that Kamala Harris has the solution or the answer to get us off that wrong track and onto the right one? No, all we heard was just a bunch of gaslighting and a bunch of lies.
Well, it's interesting you used the word incompetence regarding the ABC moderators. I will take it a step further. I don't think that they were incompetent. I think that it was just journalistic malpractice. I mean, they were very good at doing what they intended to do, which was give a hand up to Kamala Harris and give her some cover, while at the same time doing all they could to torpedo Donald Trump. Now, the question is, should he do a second debate? Apparently, Kamala Harris wants to do a second debate. I think if I'm Donald Trump, it's got to be on Fox News, or it's got to be someplace where it's just fair, because the ABC News, that interview was not fair.
No, you're exactly right, Dan. It's up to Donald Trump whether he wants to do it or not. I don't think these debates make a lot of difference unless you have a performance like Joe Biden delivered back in June. I don't think they make much of a difference in terms of moving the dial one way or the other. But if Donald Trump wants to do another debate, I think he's got to make certain that he doesn't walk into another, incredibly biased environment like we saw earlier this week in Philadelphia. That's going to be the game, I think. Fox News, any other outlet, he just needs to make certain that there is an agreement and there is clarity that he's going to debate just one person, not Kamala Harris and the moderators as well. He had to go up against 3 on Tuesday night.
All right, Senator, always great to have you on. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of week and the weekend as well. Senator Bill Hagerty joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.